Welcome to Back from the Abyss. I'm Dr. Craig Heacock. These next two episodes were recorded at the very beginning of the COVID pandemic, just as things were starting to get a little scary. And I think this is an important note, as Erin's story is one of a contamination OCD, and her primary obsessional fear was focused on a virus. When I asked Erin if she was okay with coming to my office to record, given this emerging fear of the coronavirus, she was both excited and adamant that she felt totally comfortable leaving her house and meeting with me, at a 6-foot minimum distance, of course. As you will hear, this was an astounding accomplishment, given that when she and I first met 5 years ago, she was so gripped by fear of a certain virus that she couldn't even leave her house. She struggled to touch and care for her new baby, and she spent nearly every minute of her day trying to stay safe. Yet Erin was not just able, but actually eager to leave the safety of her home to record this episode. I hadn't seen her in a long, long time, as in recent years, she's primarily worked with Dr. Amy Indermuehle, an OCD expert here in Colorado, who is going to join me for the next episode to discuss both the treatment of OCD and her work with Erin in particular. This is the first time that we've done a 2-part episode where another therapist and I meet up to discuss the hows and whys of a storyteller's treatment. And I think you're going to find this follow-up episode with Dr. Amy to be totally fascinating. While Erin has lifelong, low-grade, waxing and waning OCD symptoms, her fears were never overwhelming and her compulsions took little time out of her day. But shortly after her first baby was born, her OCD exploded, first with intrusive violent obsessions, then transitioning to constant dread of viral contamination. For it turns out that the postpartum period is the psychiatrically most risky time in a woman's life, both in terms of exacerbation of any existing psychiatric illness, as well as new onset depression, anxiety, and OCD. We might think of obsessive-compulsive disorder as a sine wave or a roller coaster. The upslope is the mounting fear and dread of the obsession, such as believing that one's hands are contaminated or that someone is going to die or that a situation just doesn't feel right. And the compulsion is the downslope, the action that releases and relieves the obsessional fear, such as scrubbing hands with disinfectant or saying a prayer in just the right way or maybe counting with a certain cadence to a certain n number. The compulsion relieves the obsessional anxiety, but it also sets up the next sine wave, the next upslope on the roller coaster. Each compulsion feeds that OCD beast and sets up the next obsession, which then sets up the next compulsion, and so on in a miserable, unending loop. The key feature of treating obsessive-compulsive disorder is to not give in to the compulsion, to not repetitively pull the safety brake, but rather to sit with the mounting anxiety until it reaches its natural peak and then begins to slowly go down on its own, a process called habituation or fear extinction. Both Erin in this episode and Dr. Amy in the next episode describe in vivid and sometimes shocking detail the process of ERP, or exposure and response prevention. If you only take one learning point from these 2 episodes, it would be that the primary treatment for obsessive-compulsive disorder is exposure and response prevention, and that ERP is both hard work and powerfully effective. Names and some details have been changed in these stories to maintain confidentiality.
I'd say about a couple of weeks after I had her, I was coming down the stairs in our house and I'm holding her. And I get this idea in my head that I could slip and fall down the stairs and then she's going to fall with me and she's going to get squashed and killed and she's going to die and I'm going to kill my baby. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. But yes, that could happen. So then I'm holding her and holding onto the staircase and I'm going down the stairs. And then going up and down the stairs a lot with her when she was young, because that's where her room was and all diapers and that sort of thing. And I remember coming downstairs with her again and I got this image in my head of me throwing her down the stairs. Not, an accident, I slipped and fell, but she's here in my hands and I'm picking her up and I'm throwing her down the stairs and she dies. Mm-hmm. And I just am freaking out. Oh my gosh. Why am I thinking this? I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible mom. This normal, moms don't think this kind of thing. No. Same with the windows. I had similar thoughts about the windows. I had images and thoughts of me forcefully throwing her out the window, which of course, with an infant, she would die. And it wasn't a thought that just came and went. It came and it stayed, and I thought about it a lot. So I had the thought, and we all have weird thoughts and they pass. But I had the thought, and then that thought stayed, and I would just kind of think about it all day. Why did I have that thought? What is wrong with me? What am I going to do? Am I capable of doing that? Why do I want to do that? Questioning myself, one. Not really questioning the thought, why did I have that thought? More of, what's wrong with me? Why am I having these feelings like I want to kill my baby?
Yeah, and not the kind of thoughts, that you could check in with your husband or your mom or your friend, probably.
No.
Hey, honey, I'm just wondering why I'm having these intrusive, powerful, sort of murderous abandonment, awful thoughts towards my beautiful young girl.
Right. Yeah, which is scary because I did not want to say what I was thinking out loud. Because if I said it out loud to somebody, I thought, man, they're going to think something's really wrong with me. So it was scary to share with anybody, so I didn't.
Yeah. So it's just this double kind of awful suffering. You're suffering with you're being tormented by your thoughts and obsessions, but you can't tell anyone.
Right.
Because at least, if you have some grievous injury to your leg, or you're losing tons of weight, or you're vomiting blood, you could tell someone, hey, something's seriously wrong.
Right.
But with these kinds of intrusive, awful obsessions, you're just suffering alone.
Right.
And possibly thinking that you're losing your mind.
Yeah. There were definite times that I felt for many years that I'm losing it. I'm losing my mind. And as OCD progressed, which I didn't realize was OCD, I was doing things that made it look like maybe I was losing my mind to my family, but they didn't understand what was going on because I couldn't tell them.
Yeah. What would that look like? Like if we could go back and watch video of you in those early months, you're just racked by horrific OCD that you didn't know what it was. Like, what are you doing? What did that look like from family perspective?
Yeah, from family perspective, when the hand washing started, I think that's when it was the most visible to somebody else. So OCD for me started with the intrusive thoughts and eventually morphed into contamination OCD. But I remember in the beginning, I was terrified that I was going to die, either by my hand or from SIDS. So I was up all night. I'd get up and check on her every couple of hours. If I heard her move on the monitor, I'd get up. And so I started checking her breaths. Because she's a baby, it was kind of hard to see if she's breathing or not. And so I'd put my hand on her and I would make sure she was breathing, and I'd check for 3 breaths. Then 3 breaths became, well, I should double that. So 6 breaths. Then it became, well, just to be safe, I better, let's do 9 breaths. And it's all by 3s because that's always been my number my weird number is 3s. It got to the point I'm up almost all through the night, and every time I go to her room to check her breathing, I was counting her breaths 300 times. I had my hand on my infant daughter, and I was counting to 300 to make sure she was breathing. And if I didn't count to 300, if I said, no, you're going to stop at 3, that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
If it wasn't 300, it wasn't good enough. And if it wasn't 300, she wasn't safe. But nobody really saw that.
Yeah.
Because that's in the middle of the night and I'm in her room by myself.
Was there a little part of you that knew that that was irrational?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're compelled.
Yes.
So it's like you're part of your brain saying this is ridiculous, but your overwhelming fear response is you have to do this.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's one of the scariest parts of it is there is that part of you that says, this is too much. This is ridiculous. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what that rational part of me said. This fear made me do these other things. When I started having the cold sore fears is when people started noticing. So I'm nursing my daughter and I get this idea in my head that I have a cold sore, which I've had cold sores. It's not anything new to me. My daughter reaches up her hand and she hits me in the face and I get this thought, oh my gosh, what if she gets a cold sore? And I feel panic. Like I feel hot. My heart starts racing. I'm shaking because of this thought. Because this thought that she might get cold sores. And I think, oh, this must be really bad. Mm-hmm. If she gets cold sores, this can be really bad. And then I start thinking, if she gets cold sores, people aren't going to like her. If she gets cold sores, people will make fun of her. I don't want her to get cold sores, so I have to protect her from that. So I got up, took her to the bathroom, washed her hand, washed the side of her face, because she had, of course, after that had touched her face. And then I went back to the room, and that kind of just caught fire. And
I wonder, Erin, if the reason it caught fire was because when this cold sore incident happened, you had such a powerful fight-flight fear reaction. Mm-hmm. It's like the smoke alarm of you is just blaring. And so then your brain has to explain that. Why is my smoke alarm blaring at 120 decibels?
Right. And
so what you came up with is cold sore equals like life ruining.
Right. Yeah.
Like it was almost, your brain had to explain, your frontal lobe had to explain what your body was telling you, which was, this is unbelievably horrible.
Yes.
And so you had to come up with an explanation, even though the rational brain would say, it's cold sore. Millions of people have those, big deal.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
But it wasn't focused on other viruses or bacteria. It wasn't, I don't want to take her out because of RSV or pneumonia or HPV or all the other things. It was focused on this one virus. And that's it. If she got sick or got the flu or who knows what else, I thought, well, we'll deal with that. But if she got the cold sore, that was, forget about it. It's over. So your day-to-day life turned into a mission to make sure that she had zero exposure to that herpes virus.
Yes, exactly. Which meant she had zero exposure to a lot of life. She didn't go to a park until she was almost 2. So, we really kind of built a lot of walls around our life, made a lot of rituals to keep us safe, wanted everyone to follow my rituals, which doesn't work, which isn't healthy for people around.
Did you tell people that you wanted them to be clean for the sake of being clean, or did anyone know that it actually was a very specific obsession with this herpes cold virus?
Only my husband knew. Everyone else who came around, which seemed like a lot at the time, we had a new baby and everyone wanted to come meet her. And I think it was easy at that point to just say, oh, it's the new baby. Can you make sure you wash your hands? But I think people started getting a little suspicious when I was taking the Clorox wipe out and wiping down any new toys that they gave her, or wiping down the doorknobs after they came into the house. And my hand washing became really intense, and when people were over visiting, they definitely noticed. And I had a couple people make comments about it, not knowing, what was going on, but still couldn't stop. Still didn't stop. I remember one night I was making spaghetti, something really simple, and I was putting some, or maybe it wasn't spaghetti, it was a spaghetti type thing, and I was putting some spices on the top, and they kind of floated to the top of the pan, and I got this suspicious thought in my mind, like, maybe those are bad, maybe they're rotten or something. And I was nursing at the time, and I thought, if I eat something and it's poisoned, then it's going to poison my daughter and she's going to die. Okay, well, I better look at this. And I'd smell it and I'd do it, and it's floating at the top. It was a stew, that's what it was. And so I called him over. I said, hey, look at these spices at the top of the stew. Do you think someone came in and poisoned these, and that's why they're floating to the top? Because normally they don't do this. And he looked at me just dead in the eyes and said, are you serious? I said, what? Yeah, I'm serious. Do you think someone poisoned these? Because if someone came into the house and poisoned these, and then I eat it, and then I feed our daughter, then she's going to die. And he, I think, was just at that point scared. I wanted him so much for reassurance, because and that is part of OCD. It is part of it's a compulsion sometimes. Reassurance can be a compulsion sometimes. Like, you constantly need reassurance. Is this okay? Is that okay? Is this okay? And I was constantly asking him for reassurance for so many things, and it became exhausting.
Yeah. What a huge stress on your marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I was looking to him for all these answers. I wasn't able to make decisions almost without having some reassurance from him or my mom or my aunt or somebody. And
even if he had tried to confront you and say, this is ridiculous, it's not going to happen. I mean, part of you knew that.
Right. I already knew that.
But that would almost make it worse, because he's speaking to that little remaining non-OCD rational part of your brain that
right.
you know this is crazy, but you can't stop.
Right.
So he took the tact, I think, like a lot of family members, is just go along with it, because it's just easier to reassure and go along with the rituals and do everything the person asks, rather than try to confront the really delusional level of fear.
Yeah. I asked him, I said, is there anything that you remember happening early on that, in terms of OCD, that really kind of freaked you out or anything? And he said, yeah. He said, one day I came home and you were giving her a bath, and you were holding a washcloth out, at arm's length. And you came into the bathroom with this washcloth, and you knelt down to start giving her a bath, and you asked me, did this touch my face? Which obviously, it's like arm's length from my face. Did this touch my face? And he said, no. And he looked down to the side of the bathtub, and there was a pile of washcloths already piled up there from all the times that before he had got home that I had asked myself that same question after holding it out at arm's length, and decided, no, it's not safe. Yes, that must have touched your face, so put it down and go get another one. And it was only when he gave me that reassurance, no, that did not touch your face, that I started giving her bath. So I started holding things out at arm's length because then I could see them. And I knew if I was holding something out at arm's length, then it wouldn't have touched my face. Because if it touched my face, especially my lips, then it was contaminated, whether I had a cold sore or not. Mm-hmm. So that pile of washcloths represented kind of this chaos in my mind at that time. Yeah. And that happened for a number of things: diapers, hand towels, dishes, laundry. When I would take the laundry out, if I thought it touched my face, I'd have to rewash the entire load of laundry. Mm-hmm.
Was there a breaking point or a low, or, I mean, you suffered many months with this really incapacitating contamination OCD taking over your whole life. What finally moved you to go try treatment, to get an assessment?
I remember it. It was a very disturbing moment. I was in the kitchen and it was like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. It was midnight is actually what it was. And I was in the kitchen and I don't know if I was starting the dishwasher or doing something in the kitchen. And then I washed my hands. And then I grabbed a paper towel and I dried my hands. And then I put it in the trash. And I thought, did that paper towel touch my face before I dried my hands? I better wash my hands again. So I washed my hands again. Same thought. Wait a minute. I think that must have touched my face. So is contaminated and I have to throw it away and I have to wash my hands again. And the more I'm washing my hands, the more I'm feeling kind of out of control. And I'm washing my hands. And for whatever reason, I happened to look at the time on the clock. It was late and I was tired, but I kept washing my hands, throwing the paper towel away, having a same or very similar thought. Oh, you touched your face with that paper towel, which means that paper towel is contaminated and you just dried your hands with it, so you have to wash your hands again. So wash your hands again. I'll wash my hands again. Same thing over and over and over again. And I washed my hands for 30 minutes. And I was crying.
Couldn't stop.
I couldn't stop. And it was a really scary moment because I felt like, I know that this is not right. And I know that this doesn't make sense. But I can't stop. Mm-hmm. And it was really scary. It was really scary. Yeah. And then that's when I got treatment.
That first session, you're wearing gloves and basically kind of in a constant panic attack. When I told you that you had OCD, postpartum OCD, you seemed both relieved but also surprised, maybe?
For sure. Yeah. I guess I didn't know I didn't know what OCD was, really. You hear a lot of people say, well, oh, I'm so OCD about that or about this. And I think for the first time, I just felt understood, and that was a big relief almost, One, I remember the night before I came to see you, I was really nervous and my husband's being really encouraging and I'm just afraid that I'm going to go in here and he's going to say, you're really nuts and take my baby away. And I really thought that was true. I really thought that was what was going to happen. Oh. But I also knew that if I didn't get help for what was going on, I was no good to my family. So it was like, what do? Do you face this potentially horrifying thing? Like you can't be around your baby or you live your life like this, which isn't good for anybody. Mm-hmm. So I was very relieved when I came to see you on a lot of different levels. But
yeah, Erin, I think you're describing so powerfully something I see a lot, which is, 85% of the time when people come to me convinced they're losing their mind, they have OCD. Mm-hmm. The people who are actually losing their mind think they're fine. But It's true, because I think particularly the two things about OCD. One is just the bizarreness and horror of some of the obsessions. And two is because a part of your brain is holding on, evaluating, judging this as like, hey, this is crazy, but you have to do it, but this is crazy. And so it's like that, maintaining that little bit of rationality. It's just torturing you, and is sort of becoming a narrator telling you, yeah, you're losing it.
It is. It's definitely a narrator. So the first things that we did was look at different medications to kind of tone down the narrator in my life. So we tried, really the first thing we tried is what stuck and what worked. So what we really worked on was the dosage of Lexapro or escitalopram.
What specifically did the escitalopram Lexapro do for your OCD symptoms?
I think one of the first things I remember is just not being so frustrated with my husband. Poor guy. But, it can be frustrating when he's not doing the things that I would expect him to be doing with my OCD. Like I want him to wash his hands and I want him to do this and that. And when he wouldn't do those things, it would make me really fussy. And I know one day you told me, you said, you have to stop. You have to stop asking him if he washed his hands, because your OCD cannot be his. You don't want him to become or, start picking up these OCD behaviors. And that was hard. But I do remember just feeling kind of like it took the edge off, and it kind of let me think a little bit more clearly. Not as... So my brain a lot of times just felt like static, just like constant, this black against white, just fuzz. And it really toned that down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to where I could kind of think about things a little bit more clearly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in many respects, and I'm sure we had this discussion a few times, if OCD treatment is a marathon,
yeah,
the starting medications like signing up for the race, putting on your running shoes, stretching, drinking water, and taking off and starting to run.
Right.
But it's like there's 25 miles left.
Right. Yeah.
and that's called ERP,
yes.
Exposure and Response Prevention.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I remember coming to see you, and we had been seeing each other for a little while, and I came in, and you had your monitor pulled up on your computer. And you said, hey, come over here. And I went over there, and you had Google images of cold sores. And there was, on one page, there was like horrible. 100 of them. And they were horrible. They were horrible. And I froze. And I couldn't look. I looked away. And I said, what are you what are you doing? You're like, come on, look at these. Let's look at these together. And I just, no, I don't want to look at those. I don't. They gave me, right when I saw them, my heart started, thumping, and my face, I could feel the heat coming up through my neck and my face, and I didn't want to look at them. But together we looked at them for a short time. You didn't make me do it for a long time. I looked at them, and then I sat down and we talked about it.
Do you think at that point, and I know that was years ago, but this was the very beginning of the marathon of your treatment, do you think you understood why I was pulling up horrific herpes images? And also, if you remember, one time I printed out a bunch off the color printer and put them on the couch to await you when you came in.
Yeah, they were right there where I would sit.
Yeah. And I told you I'm not trying to be sadistic. I promise this is part of the treatment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I really understood that too much, like at that very first time when you had them on the computer. But when we would talk, I would talk about, there are certain things in my house that I won't touch because I feel like they're contaminated, certain towels or things in the linen closet, and you would say, you need to touch those things. You need to do that. But I was like, no. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. So I think that feeling of fear was too strong to do those things. And I was in my mind, a lot of times with OCD, I found myself thinking about the benefit of exposure versus the risk, mm-hmm. I guess. So in my mind, I would, no, I can't touch these because these are contaminated, and the risk of then contaminating my child is far greater. This is the more important thing. The more important thing is to protect my child mm-hmm. than to touch these and fix my OCD.
Yeah.
But really, it's really opposite.
Yeah.
Almost. So, yeah, we did that.
You were seeing that while meds can be a crucial piece in dialing down the anxiety, really the treatment for OCD, and if people listening to this show only get one thing from this, is that the treatment for OCD is exposure therapy.
Yes.
That is the treatment. And mm-hmm. that's what works, and that's hard.
It's hard.
And Dr. Amy's going to be telling us more about that
yeah.
in the next episode, as you will too. But
yeah.
you and I started doing some exposure therapy, and I would give you exposure homework, and you, some of it you were really able to do.
I went in one day and you had a cup of water on this little table, and you asked me to take a drink of it, and you said that then you were going to take a drink of it. And I thought, no way. I would not put you in that position. I do not want you to get cold sores. You're crazy.
Yeah. Almost like we talk about exposure hierarchy in OCD treatment. So a 10 would be the most horrifying exposure ever, mm-hmm. and 0 would be easy. What do you
that
think
was a 10.
That was a 10.
That was a 10.
I shot a little too high. I remember thinking, I wonder if this is going to be a little much, but I thought I was going to push you a little bit.
Yeah, and you did.
Yeah.
And you did. And I remember.
And then you didn't come back for so many months. You disappeared for like a year.
Yeah,
and I thought, oh no, that was, and it's true. Again, as I describe people with OCD treatment, OCD treatment, I think really is like training for a marathon, in that you can do too much. You can overtrain, you can get injured, meaning like the exposure can be too overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so, I apologize, Erin, that I was thinking that was maybe like a 7 out of 10, but clearly it was a 10 out of 10.
It was. Yeah. It was worse than the images, for sure.
Yeah.
I think because I was afraid for you. Mm-hmm. Because to me, I'm just this big germ, and I have these germs all over me, and anything I touch is contaminated, and I didn't want that for you. I thought, I'm going to be the reason Dr. Heacock gets cold sores now, but you drank out of that cup like it was nothing. And I thought to myself, this is really interesting. I would have never thought anybody would ever do that. That just seems so scary. Why would he do something like that? And then with my adventures in exposure therapy, mm-hmm. I understand it. I understand it more now. Yeah.
So it's like if you went to exposure therapy 1A with me, mm-hmm. you stepped up to advanced expert level with Dr. Amy.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us more about that.
Which I had no idea. I had no idea what was coming.
So you're on the waiting list, waiting,
on
seeing
the waiting
me,
list. Yeah.
Hoping that I won't share a cup with you again.
Right. Hoping that I don't have to do that again. And not knowing what's coming next.
She can make you long for the cup.
I know.
Oh, please bring back the color images of herpes sores, please.
I know. Yeah. Which is actually kind of where we started with Dr. Amy. So first thing, I went to see her and did a survey. And the survey, and she'll probably talk more about it, but it kind of just rates your OCD. What level are you on? And kind of gives you a place to start, I guess. So one of the first things that we started doing was looking at images. So looking at images online. Then we went to looking at videos of people on YouTube with cold sores. You can find anything on YouTube. You Google people with cold sores on YouTube, and there's a ton of videos. Yeah. Who knew? I did not know. So then I'd watch some of those, and then I'd have homework to go home, and before I go to bed, look at images of cold sores and watch videos of cold sores, and that was my homework. And it made me super anxious, just flush. And
but you did it.
But I did it.
Yeah.
But I did it. And so we started with that, and then we've done a lot of interesting.
Yeah. What were some of the most challenging, even nearly overwhelming things that you did in your therapy with her?
Well, I mean, a thing that I think of, which is really kind of the first thing that you and I talked about too, was the shopping carts. So, I mean, probably for the first 2 years after having my daughter, I didn't leave the house very much. It was just too overwhelming. And when I would go grocery shopping, I had Clorox wipes with me all the time. I'd use them to open doors. I'd use them to wipe down various things on my adventures in the real world. I'd use them to wipe down shopping carts, and not just the handle. I'd wipe down the handle, the sides, the seat where my purse or my bags would go. It took a long time. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I've learned. Just OCD takes a lot of valuable time out of your life, because I would have all these rituals, and that was one of the things with the shopping carts, because it really just freaked me out with the ideas of who touched the shopping cart, and they had a cold sore, and then they touched their cold sore, and then they touched the shopping cart, or they had coffee, and then they touched their coffee cup, and then touched the handle. It's just this kind of a whirlwind of thoughts OCD can be, because it's very specific, so, this shopping cart's innocent there, but I put this story on this shopping cart of what has happened to it, and it gets to become a pretty elaborate, story. So it was the shopping carts was really hard. That was one of the first things that I would have to do.
Did you ever go to a grocery store with Dr. Amy?
Not to a grocery store. Well, you know what? We went to Target. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went to Target. But at that point, I think I was over so the thing that I had to do was every time I went to a store, get a shopping cart and don't wipe it down. Not the handle, not anything. And if I had my daughter, put her in there. Just put her in there. Because I would go in there and say, I see these people at the grocery store and their kids are, riding on the bottom of the shopping cart where all the gunk and stuff is at. And she says, that's what I want you to do. She says, that's where I want you to be. I want you to be able to go into a store and let your kid ride on the bottom of the gross, disgusting shopping cart.
Yeah. So not just lean into the anxiety, but actually climb in it.
Yeah.
Sort of wrap yourself up in it.
Go towards it. And that's what she always tells me. Go towards it. A lot of times I get into these places where I'm just surviving OCD and I'm just going through the motions, but I'm not working on my OCD. I'm just not going to get a cart today. So avoiding getting a cart, which every time I get a cart is a step towards smashing OCD, or fighting OCD. So every time I get that cart, I'm telling OCD, well, maybe I will get a cold sore, but I'm going to do it anyway. Our first exposure outside of the office was to Target, and it was to the chapstick aisle to touch Abreva, which is a cold sore medication. And we must have stood in front of that, that one little section of the chapstick. We stood there probably for like 25 minutes before I could even pick it up. And we're just pretending, there's a bunch of people there. And so we're just looking at it And, oh yeah, look at that chopstick.
You just imagine the people that are like in the cameras watching for shoplifters and just watching you two in front of the cold sore medicine thinking, are they going to snag it?
Yeah.
Like, what are they?
Well, it's like $18. People probably do.
Go.
Yeah. But so we stood there for a long time. And then I was touching, other things, which touching things around the Abriva was anxiety inducing. It was just, oh, well, somebody probably touched that Abriva and then touched this chapstick. And so I didn't want to touch any of it. So she would pick one up and she'd look at it. And then she'd ask me if I was ready to do it. And I wasn't. And then she'd put one back and then she'd pick something up. And that's something that I really appreciate about her is that she'll never ask me to do something that she's not willing to do herself. Mm-hmm. She's given me the time to work my way up to certain things. So eventually I got the Abriva and I had to grab it. I just grabbed it because I knew if I didn't, I will just stand there the whole hour that we're here. I will just stand here. And so I just grabbed it and I'm holding on to it and she's telling me that's good, and asking me how I'm feeling and what my level is at. And so we hold it. And I just hold it and we stand there. And then once we had the Abriva, we walked around a little bit. And I just held it the whole time that I was there. And eventually the anxiety lowered. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where I was at 9-10, by the time I was ready to put that back, I was at maybe like a 4.
Yeah. That's this idea of fear extinction.
Right.
That if you actually walk right into the anxiety fire and you hang there, the anxiety will dissipate.
Mm-hmm. And it does.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels good when it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that same trip we picked up, because we had a little bit of time, she wanted to make sure we, used our time. We went around the store and we picked up cups where people set their coffee cups down and soda bottles and things like that. We went around and I had to pick those up and put them in the trash, which then took my anxiety back up. And
not allowed to use sanitizer or wipes after you pick up these cups. Yeah.
No, and that's one thing she said, get rid of all that stuff. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, she said, get rid of it. Don't have it. And if you have it, if you feel like you need it because you're out, and you're going to eat and you don't have any way to wash your hands or something, keep it in the back of your car, but don't keep it in your cup holder and your purse. And which I had, oh my gosh, I had hand sanitizer everywhere and wipes everywhere. My purse was so heavy because I just had so many cleaning things in my purse.
Yeah.
It's much lighter now.
Yeah. Of all the exposures that you've done with Dr. Amy, do you have a sense which ones were most therapeutic, most healing, which sort of chipped away at that iceberg of OCD the most and allowed you to have more of a life and function with less fear?
Yeah, I'd say, in the very beginning, I could tell a difference. After I saw her for a few months, I could really tell a difference in my ability to handle things in life. I hadn't used a public bathroom in probably 3 years. So that was one thing that we worked on, and I think it's been pretty significant, I guess, because it kind of opens up the world a little bit. Like, I can only be out for an hour and I can't drink any water. So, because I can't use a public bathroom, or not that I can't, but I'm not willing, I just wasn't willing to do that. So we spent quite a bit of time in the bathroom there in the office and touching handles and doors and not washing my hands afterwards, going in there. I remember going down there and opening the door. And then she said, what in here is the most gross thing in here? And I thought, those faucet handles are disgusting. She said, okay, go touch them. I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, go put your hands on them and just hold on to them and don't let go.
In the public bathroom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the public bathroom. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so
You thought, I'm paying for this.
I'm paying for this torture. I come here every week to be tortured. So
Yeah, how long did it take the fear to start to dial down on that kind of bell curve of, ramping up horrible fear, panic, oh, I'm going to put my hands on these faucets, and then you're holding them. How long till the fear really started to drop?
Like in the bathroom in that situation? Oh, I'd say 15 minutes. So what I would do and what I had been doing with OCD is I'm just traveling along, and then I start feeling anxious, and I'm going up this hill of anxiety, and I get to the top, and I have a choice at that top. I can either stay with that anxiety on the way down the other side of the hill, or I can have do a compulsion, and then I slide back down, and I end up being where I am before. And so what I was doing is really getting really anxious, really, really anxious and fearful, and getting to the top of that hill. I can't handle this. I wash my hands or do hand sanitizer, and then I just slide back, because that's what OCD wants us to do. Yeah. And what Dr. Amy has really taught me to do is to ride that out. So I'm there at the peak, and I'm anxious, and I am a 10, and I don't think I can handle it, but I stay there, and I hold those handles of that faucet. And I hold those handles of that faucet until I come down. And I slowly come down. And maybe it takes 15 minutes to come down the other side of the hill.
Which is a long time. That's a long time to hold public bathroom faucets.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons it's probably good to have an OCD expert guiding you.
Right.
Coaching you through this.
Because I don't think I would have ever done it on my own.
No.
Ever. So that took 15 minutes. Some things take longer. Some things don't take as long. And I think the more that I've progressed through treatment, it doesn't take as long. Yeah. That anxiety, that fear passes more quickly, I guess, Yeah.
So what's better? Because you've done an incredible amount of work. What's gotten better? What do you still struggle with?
A lot of things have gotten better. So many things have gotten better. I leave the house. I enjoy things. I go on trips. I got on an airplane. I eat at restaurants. These are all things that I wouldn't do with OCD. An airplane was just terrifying, but we took a trip as a family, and I was able to do it, and I stayed at a hotel, which is disgusting. And I, I do a lot of disgusting things in OCD's mind. I feel I go to the grocery store. I don't wipe down my groceries anymore. I used to wipe down my groceries with Clorox wipes. I'd get home from the grocery store, and I'd wipe down all my groceries with the Clorox wipes, put them in the fridge, then go back with Clorox wipes, wipe down all the doors that I had touched, go to my car, wipe down the steering wheel, the doorknobs, to make sure
Exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, I think you made a good point that OCD, when it's bad, it's like a full-time job. When you and I met, I think it was occupying every waking minute.
When you and I first met, I was washing my hands upwards of 100 times a day.
Yeah, what do you think now, if you had to add up the number of minutes a day or hours or minutes that OCD still kind of robs from you? What would you say?
Well, some days are better than others. That's
Which
for
is
sure.
an OCD thing. It tends to wax and wane.
Yeah.
I mean, OCD is very chronic and lifelong typically, but yeah, there's good days and bad days.
Yeah, I'd say now OCD takes up maybe 30 minutes of my day, or before it was hours and hours. And on bad days, there's still days when it takes up a few hours of my life. But I have more tools now to fight it than I feel like I did before. I feel like I have more control.
Yeah.
In fighting it. So.
Just curious. Again, 10 being out of control, fear, 0 no fear. If you had a water cup right now, took a sip, and then I took a sip, what level of anxiety would that bring you?
It still kind of makes me worried for you, but I would say probably like a 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
You disappear for months.
Then
And now it's a 3.
I run away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's a 3.
And I'm also super curious, Erin, now in the kind of early days of coronavirus, we know it could be bad, but we don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a virus. And much of your last 5 years has been focused on a different virus.
Sure.
But I'm curious how now we're seeing people wipe down their shopping carts and actually doing a lot. Regular people without OCD, not regular, people without OCD are now doing what you did for years. Is that triggering or bringing you back into that, or are you able to sort of compartmentalize that?
No, I feel like, it's out there and I hear about it, but I'm not afraid of it. I just think that could happen. I could get it, somebody could get it, but I can handle it. And when I do see people doing the things that I would do, and it does make me think sometimes, should I be doing those same things? Mm-hmm. Should I be doing those things that I used to do, but I don't.
That's amazing if you think about that.
Yeah.
Here we have appropriate fear across the world of this virus. We're not sure what's going to happen. It's very contagious.
Right.
Yet you had debilitating, life-wrecking contamination, OCD. Again, focused on a different virus, but here you are today taking care of your family and living your life and being careful, but not gripped in panic and falling back into all your rituals.
Yeah, which I thought would be really easy to do and I thought could very easily happen, but it hasn't. I think I have an arsenal now.
Yeah.
And I use it.
If you had some advice or words of wisdom to anyone listening who might have some OCD kind of symptoms or is really frustrated with OCD treatment, or do you have any thoughts for people?
Yeah, I do. I think OCD is, it can be really isolating and you can feel really lonely in it because it is hard for people to understand. But there are professionals out there that really know how to help you. And if you go in and you do the work, you'll get better. But it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of treatment either. There are times that I had assignments that I didn't do, and that affected my treatment, So you can go in and see the best doctors, but if you don't do the work, you're not going to get better. Mm-hmm. So even though it's hard, I would say you can do it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And if you do the work, you will see the benefit.
If you like this episode, please share it with anyone else who might find hope or meaning in this story. Check out our website, bftapodcast.com, where you can learn more about us and this project, get more information on the treatments mentioned in the stories, as well as additional resources and music credits. You can also email us with comments or story requests. If you have time, please rate us on iTunes, as this helps us spread these stories far and wide. Much gratitude to my good friend Chris Johnson, who does our sound, and thank you for listening to Back from the Abyss. May each of you find the strength and support to find your way through the darkness.